Hi everybody and welcome. I got James Dalton with me today, and James.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
How are you, my friend?
I'm always good when I'm in your company.
Liar. Huge weekend of rugby.
Certainly.
And it's I think this is where the tournament kicks off for the rugby aficionados, I think.
Look, definitely, I think all the teams that are in the quarterfinals certainly are the form side.
Yeah.
They certainly deserve to be there, albeit lucky to be there, you know.
Yeah.
But certainly this is the weekend where the intensity almost quadruples for the tournament, because now there are no more opportunities to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You lose, that's the end of your World Cup.
You lose, you go home.
Yeah, you lose, you snooze and go home.
Unless you're Australia, it's a long way back. Eh?
It's a very, very long way back.
Should we start with the main course and talk about South Africa v Japan?
Yeah, you know, just talking to Ollie outside before we walked in, saying,
Money boy.
Yeah,
Okay.
saying, you know, that Japan are getting way more attention in terms of the supposed possibility of running the box close. I don't see that. I mean, goodness gracious, you know. However, albeit said, the tournament certainly is a form tournament, and Japan have shown that, where they've had form and they've got through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
You know, that be it as it may, they did beat Ireland, who at the start of the tournament were ranked number 1 in the world.
Yeah.
They have beaten Scotland, or they did beat Scotland, who was a Six Nations team.
Yeah.
So they've beaten two high first tier rugby nations. But no, we're going to have too much ammunition in our artillery. There's no ways they're going to run us close.
Yeah, you know, listening to what you're saying, I think that the dream ends for Japan here. I think there's a couple things. One, they're just not good enough. But they didn't leave anything out on that field against Scotland. I mean, it was a wonderful display of rugby, and it's a great story, and that's their David and Goliath story for me.
Yeah.
To qualify for that round, that's enough to qualify for that round. This isn't David and Goliath. This is David versus Goliath on steroids. You know, it's the Springboks are well coached.
Yeah.
They've got depth that I've never seen before, and they're going to beat Japan by 20 points plus.
Yeah. I my exact sentiments.
I can't. You talk this game up all you want, and I'll eat humble pie. We'll bake some humble pie on Monday if it goes pear-shaped.
Look, it's been a dream World Cup for Japan. You know, host nation, getting through to the quarterfinals. So far, they can't put a foot wrong. But again, in saying that, they've played some really, really good rugby. Their continuity of play has been absolutely brilliant. Keeping the ball afloat, keeping the ball alive has been remarkable.
Yeah. And how's Rassie and his team going to beat them?
Well, I think by doing the basics, you know, eventually wearing them down, you know, scrumming them, tiring them at scrum time, driving them at the line-out time, unless they neutralise that by sacking the line-out early.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have too much for them in the scrum, and eventually, you know, you get worn down in the forwards when you get beaten at scrum time.
Yeah.
And then just overall dominance, you know, I personally don't think we should kick too much at the Japanese. I think we should carry the ball a lot, keep that ball alive. Then, you know, I think eventually after 10 minutes into the second half, I think they'll fade away significantly.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at analysing teams, there's one analysis I look at. There's not one player on the Japanese team that would make the Springbok squad.
No. Look, I think I'm going to take some tongue lashing when I make this comment, but I've never been scared of that. But the reality is the following.
We're not going to talk about the Bishop scandal.
No, please not. I'm mortified after that. The Japanese side is actually an average super rugby team in all reality.
Would you even give them the level of average?
Well, they are average at best, without insulting them. You know, albeit that they're in the quarterfinals. But that is the reality. They're an average Super Rugby team, so they shouldn't be able to even come close to the box. No. But as I said, you know, when you playing better rugby on the day, you've got a bit of form. They've adapted to them to the surrounds and the conditions, and that's why they've come out on top so far.
Yeah, I think I think Rassie will play a conservative game to start with, wear them down, go through the phases, do the basics right, just purely physically dominate them.
100%.
And then earn the right to go wide,
Well, it's like it's the all black pattern of rugby. Keep that ball.
Yeah.
Keep that ball. Keep on hammering them.
Yeah.
Eventually they will crumble. Their walls will come crumbling down. And defensively, you can only defend for so long.
Yeah.
And we've shown that we also have some form in this tournament.
Yes.
No, I don't even think it's going to start off as a contest. It's certainly not going to end as a contest.
Well, I'm hoping there's no load shedding.
Wishful thinker.
But that game's on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the other games. We've got. So you're predicting an easy.
Yeah, I'd say minimum of anything between 25 to 35 points.
Okay,
in favour of the Springboks.
Yeah, I think so. So the 12 and the 14.5 points that the bookies are giving Japan, you don't think's enough. South Africa's going to beat them by more than 15.
Absolutely.
100% agree.
Definitely.
For me, bet of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to England, Australia. And I don't really like talking about Australia because they're probably the worst side left in the tournament.
Look,
and that rolling
as a former Springbok, losing to either one of those is like just a no-no. So even
you were a former Springbok.
Yes, somewhere along the line. So that contest for me, it's neither here nor there. I mean, I would prefer that England are knocked out because I do believe they are the better of the two teams. So for anyone to progress beyond the semis and into the final, I would rather have Australia. Going further in the competition, simply because I think we have the same sentiments that we don't really believe that they're a good rugby team at the moment. However, in saying that,
yes,
they've actually surprised me. They've played some really, really good rugby as well in this
tournament. We've been watching a different tournament, mate. I think they've been so terrible. I mean, they barely beat Fiji. Look, I think the conditions haven't been
conducive for good rugby, with the humidity, etc., and the rain, and etc. Yeah.
And I just, Michael Checker's got a face that needs to be smacked. I mean,
we should put a brown paper bag over his head.
He's just miserable all the time.
Totally. No, he leaves such a bitter taste in everyone's mouth after an interview or after a game that it leaves rugby in a bit of a bad light, to be quite honest.
Yeah, he's always got excuses, and the reality is that if he was a CEO with his performance over the 4 years, he wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
And God knows why he's coaching Australia there. And when I look at England, they've impressed me in the tournament.
Yeah. England are an incredibly good rugby team. They are very, very well coached by a very intelligent and very tactically astute coach. And they've got.
He can be a bit of a prick, though.
Yeah, he has his moments.
But I think he knows how to.
He can be a bit grumpy, but he's got good wit about himself.
Oh yeah,
and
a keen sense of humor.
Absolutely. So it is a well balanced rugby coach, and the England team from the starting 15 right through to their bench.
Yeah.
Number 1 or number 2 in terms of the reserve are equally good.
And where are you going? Who's winning that game, James?
I would say England.
By?
I'd say England by 7 to 10.
Yeah, exactly where the bookies are.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say England by 7 to 10.
Yeah, I think
holding thumbs.
Well, I think England will win by double digits.
Okay.
I don't really rate the Australian team, the coach, the CEO, the state of Australian rugby. It's
well, again, I said it's about form in this, and if you have to compare the form of the two teams, England certainly have the upper hand in terms of form in this competition.
Yes, Michael Checker said, "Judge me on this tournament." So I'm putting out this to Michael Checker: when you lose tomorrow morning or on Saturday morning, resign.
Please do so.
Do the honourable thing. Don't talk about anything else. Resign.
Yeah.
Do Australian rugby a favour.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we've got what I can see, what I think is going to be the best game, and the one I'm looking. Well, no, Wales is New Zealand versus Ireland. That should be a cracker.
Yeah, that is going to be, in my opinion, a close game. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. New Zealand are the form team, in this contest against Ireland. Ireland have blown hot and cold.
Yes.
But again, they've got Joe Schmidt, also a very clever coach. And they would have, and certainly have analysed the way the All Blacks have played and look at neutralising some of their strengths. So I think it's going to be a very, very good contest.
I think it's going to be a physical, titanic struggle.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some casualties and some sore bodies and bruises going through to the semis for one of those two sides.
Yeah, look, South Africa have the easiest game on paper.
Yes.
The game's not played on paper, as we know. But, geez, I don't wonder what's going to be left in the tank to face England between these two teams. And either or, New Zealand, England, or an Ireland, England semi-finals, also going to be a mouth-watering proposition.
Yeah.
So who are you taking with?
Look, I'd have to go with New Zealand, simply because of consistency, and they're just an intelligent rugby team. So they know how to win, Kevin. With them, you give them two opportunities. They showed against us. We were over them like a rash. We had their backs against the wall. They got two opportunities. They scored. That is where they are incredibly good. Yeah. And if Ireland slip, have a period of a slump momentarily, and are not in the game, New Zealand will surpass them and come out on top.
Yeah. What I like in there, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think it's going to be a physical confrontation. It'll be a great battle. But I think New Zealand will prevail. But the bookies are saying that New Zealand are going to win by 13, which I think is a very generous assumption.
Yeah, I'm not too opposed to that. I'm not too opposed by that. I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. I think Ireland a little bit better than that, and it's going to be a one-score game. And
what is your margin?
I think that New Zealand will win by 6.
Okay. Okay.
And 13. Yes, it's a big difference between 13 and 6.
It certainly is.
And then, as a Welshman, Wales versus France.
Yeah, that for me is, everybody talks about the French and their inconsistency.
Oh God, am I going to go? I just know where you're going with this. Sorry, James.
Look, Kevin, I'm going to say this. I like the Welsh. I like the way they play their rugby.
Yeah.
Their rugby has been very good over the last 4 years. They've beaten South Africa.
I'm feeling a butt coming on, James.
They've been... no, there's no butt. I'm sitting on my butt. They've beaten South Africa 3 years in a row, albeit in Wales.
Yeah.
They are, on paper, the better side. However, what I've seen with Wales...
However, is just a cleverer butt. Sorry, go on.
It's a mincing of words, cleverly. What I saw of late in the tournament with Wales is that when they bring their reserves on, they lose a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and I was chatting to Mark earlier on, and he said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, so that for me would be a concern, and they also showed that when they got the lead, they're not able to extend it. Albeit only against Australia. But again, I don't. The French have actually been consistently, albeit that they're inconsistent, they've actually been consistently good in World Cups. Believe it or not.
Yes, they have played in. They have made it to the semi-finals and played for medals.
So I think that's gonna be that one could be an upset in terms of if the French arrive on the day. Could possibly be the upset of the tournament, but on paper and on form, highly unlikely.
Yeah, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
If my mother had balls, she'd be my father.
Exactly. Now, when France play New Zealand, they're capable of spectacular results, as they were in '99 at Twickenham, and I was at that game. Wow, what a game.
What an upset.
Exactly, what an upset. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the only thing they've got going for them in this tournament right now is because they haven't impressed me.
No.
And there's dissension in that camp, as there always is in a French camp for some reason. You remember the French camp here for the World Cup in 2010.
Yeah.
Geez, they bombed out of I mean, this is soccer compared to rugby, but is that they've had a nice rest for this game because of their game with England being
well, that could be a positive or a negative.
Yeah,
with the French being so inconsistent, this could be their undoing.
Well, you played at that level, James.
One
is
thing,
it a positive or is it a negative?
It depends on your form. Going into, having that break and then the momentum that you carry into the following test match. So it's all about your mental form and the level at which the team is performing. But if you've been playing hot and cold and you have such a long break,
yes,
it can't be good for you and it won't be good for you. And I've seen playing against the French, they start off well, and when things go a little bit lopsided for them, they actually start turning on each other. They start name calling their own teammates as opposed to focusing on the opposition.
Absolutely.
So they are a little bit emotional, and I think we've all seen, even in our own personal lives, when you can't detach emotion from things, that's normally where you err and you make wrong mistakes. So apart from them being inconsistent, they are also emotionally all over the place.
Yeah, they're not a well-coached side, I think.
Yeah, and Kevin, it's surprising. You look at how, the dominance of their junior teams in the World Cups. I mean, the kids are massive. They've won 2 World Cups, am I correct? 2 World Cups in a row now, the under-21s.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think they've won 2 World Cups, the under-21s. But it just doesn't seem to carry over into their senior team. And if you look how strong the French First Division is, and the experience that they garner with all the international players playing in their leagues, you'd think that their rugby would improve.
But maybe that's the problem because they aren't South Africans considered? There's a lot more South Africans that play there.
Well,
so
I mean,
maybe they jeopardize the development of their own game.
Yeah,
and I could be wrong, but I haven't. No New Zealanders coached the national side. If you look at teams that have, with the exception of South Africa, if you look at Wales is rise up the ranks in Ireland and even Scotland.
Yeah,
they've all had
foreign, quite right. Look, I think there's 2 sides to it. Either the foreign-based players that come and play in France, similarly like they do in England, and England have benefited from it, from the international experience. But yes, there can be that time where you've got more foreign players playing in your leagues than you have local players, and for that it could be a hindrance in terms of growing your own base of talent and the strength of your national side. Yeah. But I would certainly think that with all the international influences in all the coaches, players from New Zealand, South Africa, all over the world, that it would improve their standard of rugby. But they seem to just remain on that one. They don't go down, but they don't improve at the same time.
Well,
for
for 5 years they've been barely a tier 1 nation.
Correct.
And
I mean, you even look at their performances in the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Whether they ending in the middle or second last.
Well, didn't they lose to Fiji last year?
Yeah.
Or was it a draw? The fact anyway. So you who are you picking in that game?
No, I'd go with Wales.
Yeah.
I'd go with Wales.
Yeah.
Again, based on how the tournament has progressed in terms of form, I'd go with Wales being the form side. Yeah.
I'll be praying for a Welsh victory.
And what is the bookie spread on that?
6.5. They're saying that Wales will win by 6.5. I'm not It's a dangerous spread because I'm not going to touch it. In fact, I was saying earlier on that I may actually bet on...
It's a bit of a hot potato.
Well, I might bet on France so that if Wales do lose, I have some sort of consolation.
Sure.
But
got some skin in the game there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, James. Do you think that there's going to be a red card this weekend?
Right. You know what stands out for me at the moment is how many red cards there's been in this tournament. I mean, yellow cards as well. Yeah. It's been mind-blowing. And how all of a sudden this high tackle has become a menace in the game of rugby. It was spoken about, it was a concern, and now all of a sudden when we went into this World Cup, there was a lot of talk about it. Yeah. The high tackle. And it's almost like it's, when you wake up sleeping dogs, they come to haunt you. and this is exactly what's happening. So it would be a sad day if a red card had to play a role, especially early in a contest, because it waters the competition down. We almost need to find another way of, yes, at the same time keeping the game clean and safe for the players, but not having such a catastrophic effect where you take a player off the field. Maybe even come up with a thing.
Well, it's the one sport where where someone can be sent off. That the impact is greater than, say, a football game.
Absolutely,
you can put 9 men behind the ball and defend and still not get run over. But
quite right.
The parity in these 4 games between the teams is such that a red card would be so devastating to the team.
Sure.
And unless it's an absolute flagrant red card, where someone's tackled someone in the air and he's done a double somersault and is never going to walk again.
Sure. Well, go on out with absolute, like you say, absolute malicious intent.
Yeah.
Yes, then consider it. But the red cards have played a big role in this. Maybe we should come up with a format. Yes, you still punish the player, you send him off.
For 10 minutes.
But you allow another player to replace him, and then you give maybe an advantage of a 5-meter scrum or 5-meter line out as an advantage to the side who, obviously the transgression was against.
Yeah.
But this playing with 14 men is not healthy for the contest, and especially in a World Cup like this, you don't want this to happen in a semi-final. And less, and even more less in a final, Kevin.
Yeah.
Because that would just be such a poor end.
Well,
to
it
a World
happened
Cup.
in 2011 with Wales v France.
Yeah.
As their captain, one of the most impactful players at the tournament, and one of the best players at the tournament that year, Warburton was sent off after 15 or 16 minutes.
Yeah. Look,
I've still almost beat the French.
Yeah. Look, I've played against New Zealand with a red card early on in the first half. And then again,
did you get the red card?
No. I only got one, please. I only got one.
Canada.
One too many.
Yeah.
And then a red card against England in 2003 with Jonas Labuschagne being sent off.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just got panel beaten. I mean, it was like a no show. We landed up losing by 50 points to New Zealand that day, and we took like a beating of 5+ points against, I think even 50 points against England that day.
I remember, I bet on the game and I bet on you guys.
I think that was my heaviest defeat against the English. I think certainly my heaviest.
Was that in the Strali days?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
or paranoid Strali. I love and adore him, but yesterday, I mean, it was just that times it was over the top.
Again, we're praying for no red cards.
Please God.
We're hoping that doesn't affect the game. We're both picking England.
Correct.
We're both picking New Zealand.
Yes.
We're both picking Wales.
Correct.
And we're both picking South Africa to hammer.
We go. Geez, we've agreed on, we've in total consensus today.
Maybe the stars are aligned. We should go and get a lotto ticket. James, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Yes. Bless you. Thank you.